Last week, I was lurking in men's subreddits where I was pulling posts and comments from men just seemingly talking about women. And the way they talk about women is so dehumanizing. And this is one of the things that I talk about all the time, where women are literally wife appliances or girlfriend appliances, bang maids, simply here for their carnal pleasure, and incubators. We're here simply to have kids. So this is what I have found as I was lurking. This is this week's episode of Men's Entitlement Exposed. This wasn't in a man-specific subreddit, but this interaction that I had with a person is a man. So she says, am I overreacting? With the Coldplay CEO controversy recently, my husband's comments was, he should have at least cheated with a 20-year-old. Comments like these have pushed me and I want to file for a divorce. It's been 5 years of saying things like this and I'm told, hey, at least I'm not doing it. He says all men talk like this, like saying stuff like, yeah, I wish all women would be naked all the time or other things. I don't want to be with him anymore. Obviously, a very dehumanizing thing to say to a woman. So then we have this man right here. I talked about him before, but I didn't share my interaction that I had with him. So he says, I'm a 60-year-old white man. Sounds like something I would say. In my opinion, women are the most beautiful things that this earth has to offer. So to give to men. You should feel the same way about guys. Just because I think a woman is beautiful doesn't mean that I want to sleep with her or even kiss her. It just means that she's pretty to me and I don't mind saying it. And to that, I said to this man, this is the type of this is the type of comment I share with my network. So women aren't confused about how y'all feel about women. And then he responds to me, what? Network? How I feel about women? I love women. That's how we procreate. Just read your Bible and you will see how the world really works. Remember, what do I say they think about us? Wife appliance, bang maid, incubator. He keeps proving this point. I said to him, you called women things. Y'all don't even see how casually you dehumanize women. And honestly, it's disgusting. And your Bible doesn't interest me and didn't even make you better. And to that he says, I see why you're angry now. A woman is a beautiful thing, just like us guys. Maybe not me so much, but all people are beautiful things. And then I said, I didn't catch the procreate part. I was like, and you at how that's how we procreate, still dehumanizing us down to a utility, an incubator. I'm so disgusted. This is why I keep saying that y'all only see us as servants. We're here as a wife appliance, bang maid, and incubator, all things to be used. And then he says, you are a liberal communist servant. Don't talk to me. All I could do is laugh at that one. Now I want to go over to this conversation that this man was having about body counts, and this might take up the rest of the video. He says, men with high body counts, what have you learned from your encounters about yourself, women, sex, hookup culture? He says, hopefully these don't sound like F-boy musings, but from over 70 actual partners I've learned, one night stands can be fantastic despite most people I know saying the quality is never good. I've had many beautiful connected and intimate experiences on the first and only night. It all depends on whether you can create comfortable chemistry together. Women are not put off if you have high body counts. Conversely, they seem to like it. More women than I ever expected are shockingly relaxed about contraception. Women are generally not good at initiating sex. Having a lot of one-night stands may not be fulfilling long-term, but it can help you satisfy that urge long-term, meaning having plenty of experiences. I now know I won't be yearning for variety when I'm middle-aged and married. And that's valuable, so I'm glad I had those experiences. Body type compatibility makes a difference to quality of sex. There are women I found attractive, but physically we didn't quite align. Body shape can make a difference to know the mechanics of sex works. I guess I know my type in terms of physical compatibility, and I think I know what I offer or don't to women too. Having a flirty and sexual frame early on really helps if and when a date is going to transition into hooking up. If you haven't broached indirectly the prospect of sex, it's really hard to initiate it and layer out of the blue. Letting women know early in subtle ways that you find them hot. They know where they stand, so they can choose to reciprocate flirtatiously if they are open to it. Putting your intention cards on the table is the best strategy if you only want to hook up. Saying, I'm really physically attracted to you and enjoy your company, but I'm only able to offer casual hooking up allows women to decide what they want to do. I've had women reject that idea while saying they respect my honesty, and others reject initially only to come back having reflected and decided they're good with that now that expectations are clear. It is also ethically the right way to treat people. Ongoing friends with benefits almost always brings problems eventually. One person at least will develop feelings and the situation is imbalanced. I can't believe he made a whole dissertation with bullet points on this. Post-nut clarity is real. You truly know how interested you are in a woman in the moments immediately after sex. Sometimes you want them to leave immediately. Other times you want to cuddle and stay close for hours. It says a lot about how you really feel about them when sexual urges are out of the equation. I wonder if this works the same for women. Libido is a powerful thing. At 40, I now have 20% of the interest in sex that I used to and spend so much less time seeking it. That sex drive in my 20s and 30s influenced so many of my choices and decisions. Pregnancy or STI scares bring total clarity to what matters in life. It is essential to respect your and her body and life by practicing responsible safe sex. Another thought is for how few encounters I can actually remember the act in great detail. I remember faces, names, convos, and vibes, but relatively little about the sex itself. Great though it often was. On the other hand, a fair few I will not forget. I'm going to stop here because obviously he's just talking about this. And it really this is just driving the point on how much this is on their brain. Like it literally drives many of their life's decisions is getting an orgasm. This was a popular post. It had more than 8,000 comments. I'm not going to do these comments, but I am going to do this one from this person that says 3-digit body count here. Women often overestimate their abilities, same with men, and their effort in bed is an skewed right bell curve. Most of the encounters I've had weren't anything to write home about, but enough for both of us to get where we needed. The amount of partners I've had that I thought were truly remarkable, less than a dozen. You could F the daylights out of her, eat her out to completion, and make her squirt, and she still could treat you like a stranger the next day. Your true feelings for her will show when she throws it out there that X is off the table right before you meet. If you're completely turned off from seeing her then sex is all she means to you. Keeping the discreet condoms on you at all times becomes a skill. Coaching her through a bad BJ is also a skill. Chances are she will not improve on her own. I'm just here to show you what they're talking about. I thought this was an interesting post in the Ask Men subreddit asked by a woman. She says, men, what would you do first if all the women disappeared? She says, first and foremost, I promise this isn't rage bait, just genuinely curious to the responses. I see this question posed mostly at women on social media and in personal conversations, but I've never seen the reverse and it's got me thinking. If you woke up tomorrow and all women ceased to exist with no explanation, what would you do first? So Wizard of YZ says, I'd miss my mom. Stuffed Crust Pizza says, I would miss your mom. In all seriousness, though, same. K Nor says, I'll miss both of your moms. So now they're being jokey right here. But Evening Eagle says, I'm married with 2 daughters. I'd probably just off myself. This person says, I'm also married with 2 daughters, but we also have a son. So whatever I'd be feeling, I'd also have to work through it, if only to help or teach him to work through what he'd be feeling. I couldn't just leave him alone. Bobby says, yeah, you'd be long dead inside, but hopefully you could still function just enough for them. Rook My Life says, same bro. As much as I enjoy my space and quiet time to paint or play video games or watch the Flyers lose, I would be completely purposeless. As a dude who has struggled with mental health issues, just the existence of my girls and wife has probably saved my life. It's an unfair thing to ask of them, but they keep me putting one foot in front of the other, going to the gym and the doctor to take care of myself so I can stick around to help support them, for example. If I had to live life just for myself, bro, I don't want to be here in the first place. I don't know what to say about the fact that they would just take themselves out. Y'all would have to weigh in on that part. The other day, I did a post where this man was asking feminists to define the roles that they expected men to have. So I thought that this post was a good juxtaposition to that post. So this man says, how do you choose what defines you as a man? I was speaking with my sister about how she can tell a lot about a man based on how he defines himself. For example, are you a truck guy, a gun guy, video game guy, or another iteration? Are you aware that you even do it, either by saying it directly or by the content that you post? I found it interesting that looking at all my male friends, we all have a certain characteristic or lifestyle choice that we allow to define us. One of my good friends interjects sobriety into conversations. Another talks about gambling and strippers. Another about golf. And although I like to think that I'm well-rounded, I talk about firearms in, I don't know what this scenarios. I don't know what that is. Given long enough conversation. I guess ultimately my question would be, are you aware of how you define yourself? And if so, how do you choose? Okay, let's see what some of these answers are. The very first answer had me chuckling. This man's name is Sewer Slidle Thought. He says, my peen, and I just had to laugh at that because so many of their conversations are surrounded in about sex. So this matches. This person says, I can't even tell if you're reading the post or just randomly typing your thoughts out. And then the man says, I don't have time to sit here and read that whole novel. I answered the question in the title and that's it. Ricky says it's all about the nachos. And then the dude at the bottom says, my man. And he gives Beavis and Butthead eating nachos. So this person, he says, I'm ADHD. So my interests are very intense, but shift frequently. Then I end up sort of a thing. Like I go into firearms for a bit. I know a thing or two. I own a few, but I'm not a hardcore pew-pew and hunting guy. I work in the tech field, but I'm not all in on any tech specifically. I'm not the hyper-introverted programmer or engineer. I invest, did day trading for a while, but I'm not a deep finance guy. I know a bit about Bitcoin and crypto and was early in 2015 and 2016, but I'm not a crypto bro by any means. I dabble a lot. So what I'm seeing with this is many of them are not particularly deep. That is what I'm seeing with some of these answers. It's just like very, very one-dimensional when it comes to talking about themselves or even talking about something that he's trying to get a definition or trying to get men to talk about themselves. And he can't really get people to pinpoint. But that's the reason why I said I wanted to juxtapose it with that feminism post, because they want women to do this, but they can't even do it themselves. And it's very interesting to me. I'll end it with that. I will continue to do these lurking where I just report back what these men are talking about. And I'm doing that to juxtapose what women are really facing. So I'm going to do this one now. And I do have a more serious post coming later. In all seriousness, though, the reason why I started looking into men's posts is because what women talk about on the internet is about safety and red flags and avoiding manipulation tactics and all of that so that we can remain safe. So I'm going to be juxtaposing what the men are talking about based on the female safety aspect and why, this is what we need to be talking about a lot more. So in my next video, I'm going to be talking about what's going on in women's news, but I do the deep dive. Well, I don't even go that deep. I do diving into men's spaces just to see what they're talking about. And then I'm going to do a video talking about what women are facing in reality. They might be lonely, but women's safety is a bigger concern, an even bigger concern. So that is what I'm going to be talking about later on this evening.